Chapter 2: The Changing Political Landscape of India. The term medieval literally means between two ages. It is often used to describe a period in history that lies between ancient and modern times. Originally, it was applied to European history, referring to the era between the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century CE and the Renaissance, when art, literature and science experienced a revival. In the context of India, the medieval period generally spans the 11th to the 17th century. This era witnessed the rise and fall of numerous kingdoms, the emergence of new political and administrative structures, and significant cultural and economic exchanges. Far from being a dark age, it was a period of transformation during which cities grew, trade flourished, and architecture, literature, and learning reached new heights. By exploring this period, we gain insights into how India's political map gradually evolved, how boundaries were redrawn, and how the foundations of present-day state and regions were laid. Invasions and the transformation: India's political map. The 11th century marked the start of a period of major political changes in India. During this time, invasions from regions beyond the Hindu Kush mountains became frequent and had a lasting impact on the subcontinent's political organization. Unlike earlier conflicts, these incursions were notable for their scale and regularity. Many invaders, including Turkic and Afghan groups from Central Asia, sought territorial expansions, access to India's wealth, and at times the spread of their religious beliefs. These invasions led to the rise of new kingdoms, altered political boundaries, and shifts in power, gradually reshaping India's political landscape over several centuries. Political changes under the Sultanate. The Indian Sultanate was established after the defeat of King Prithviraj Chauhan in 1192 CE, marking the beginning of a new phase in northern India's political history. Over the following centuries, the Sultanate was ruled by 5 successful dynasties of the Turkic-Afghan origin: the Mamluks, or slave dynasty, 1206 to 1290 CE, the first rulers of Delhi; the Khiljis, 1290 to 1320 CE, known for military expansion and economic reforms; the Tughlaqs, 1320 to 1414 CE, noted for ambitious projects and administrative experiments; the Sayyids, 1414 to 1451 CE, a short-lived dynasty with limited control; and the Lodhis, 1451 to 1526 CE, the last dynasty before the Mughal conquest. Each dynasty brought its own style of governance, policies, and strategies to consolidate power. While the Sultanate controlled large parts of northern India, several regional kingdoms successfully resisted its expansion. For instance, the eastern Gangas in present-day Odisha and the Hoysalas in present-day Karnataka maintained their independence and continued to flourish as centers of art, culture, and administration. These kingdoms reflect the political diversity of medieval India, where regional powers coexisted alongside the Sultanate. The Sultanate's political landscape was characterized by both ambition and instability. Military campaigns were frequent and essential for territorial expansion. These expeditions often involved raiding towns, collecting tribute, and seizing resources, while some religious and educational centers were attacked. Succession disputes were common. Nearly 2 out of 3 sultans came to power through the violent means, resulting in an average reign of about 9 years. Despite this turbulence, the Sultanate succeeded in centralizing authority, and Delhi emerged as the foremost political and administrative center of northern India. One of the most notable rulers of this period was Alauddin Khilji, 1296 to 1316 CE. He launched extensive military campaigns across north and central India, securing vast territories and collecting tribute from subordinate regions. At the same time, he successfully repelled repeated Mongol invasions, safeguarding the northern frontiers of India. His slave general Malik Kafur led expeditions into southern India, conquering kingdoms such as the Pandya and Hoysala territories, present-day Tamil Nadu and Karnataka respectively. The immense wealth obtained from these campaigns helped sustain the Sultanate's powerful army and complex administration. Some expeditions also targeted major religious centers such as Srirangam, Madurai, Chidambaram and Rameshwaram in present-day Tamil Nadu, highlighting the extent and ambition of the Sultanate. The period of the Delhi Sultanate was also remarkable for its architectural achievements. The Qutub Minar in Delhi, initiated by Qutbuddin Aibak and completed by Iltutmish, Mamluk dynasty, stands as a symbol of the Sultanate's power. The Alai Darwaza, constructed by Alauddin Khilji, showcases the introduction of Islamic architectural elements blended with local craftsmanship. The Tughlaqabad fort, constructed by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, reflects the emphasis of fortification and defensive architecture during this era. Additionally, mosques such as the Quwat al-Islam Mosque in Delhi served as centers of religious, cultural and social activity, illustrating the Sultanate's lasting influence on urban planning and architectural design. Ambitions and setbacks of Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, 1325 to 1351 CE, is remembered as one of the most ambitious rulers of the Delhi Sultanate, whose reign was marked by grand schemes, bold experiments and unforeseen failures. Under his rule, the Sultanate reached its largest territorial extent since the Mauryan Empire, stretching over much of the subcontinent. Despite this remarkable political dominance, Tughlaq's policies were often poorly planned and difficult to implement, resulting in widespread hardship and instability. One of the most notable initiatives was the transfer of the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, then known as Devgiri, near present-day Sambhajinagar, Maharashtra. He believed that a more central location would enable him to exercise control over the vast empire. However, this relocation required thousands of nobles, officials, soldiers and ordinary people to march over 1,000 kilometers under harsh conditions. This journey caused immense suffering, and when the plan ultimately failed, the capital was shifted back to Delhi, resulting in further hardship and a loss of life. Another bold experiment was the introduction of token currency, in which copper coins were assigned the value of silver or gold coins. While this concept was innovative and forward-thinking, modern currency still works on the token system. At the time, it caused confusion among traders, encouraged counterfeiting, and weakened the economy. These measures, combined with other administrative challenges, gradually undermined the prosperity of the Sultanate. Despite the hardships faced by the general population, the royal court enjoyed great wealth and luxury. The sultans and the elites lived in grand palaces adorned with jewels, fine fabrics and elaborate furnishings, and feasted on sumptuous foods. Much of this wealth came from plunder during military campaigns, heavy taxation, and the slave trade with enslaved people sometimes sent to Central Asia for sale or used as forced labor. However, the reliance on plunder and forced labor disrupted trade and agricultural productivity, creating additional challenges for the empire. The period also witnessed attacks on religious and sacred sites, particularly Hindu, Jain and Buddhist temples. While looting was a primary motivation, these acts were often part of iconoclasm, the deliberate destruction of religious images or structures considered idolatrous by the rulers. These events had a lasting impact on India's cultural and religious landscape, with some monuments partially destroyed while others survived, often incorporating modified architectural elements. Muhammad bin Tughlaq's reign thus reflects a complex blend of innovation, ambition, and failure. His experiments, though often unsuccessful, demonstrate the challenges of governing a vast and diverse empire, and they remain a fascinating example of how ideas, power, and human effort shape medieval India. Timur's trail of destruction. Many rulers of the Delhi Sultanate levied a special tax on the non-Muslim subjects known as jizya. Officially, this payment was presented as the cost of state protection and an alternative to compulsory military service. However, in practice, it often became a symbol of discrimination and an additional financial strain, particularly for farmers and traders. Towards the close of the 14th century, northern India witnessed one of the most devastating invasions in its medieval history. In 1398 CE, Timur, a Turkic-Mongol ruler from Central Asia, led his forces across the northwestern frontier into India, targeting Delhi, then one of the wealthiest and most cosmopolitan cities in Asia. Timur was renowned for his military campaigns across Persia, Central Asia, and parts of the Middle East. In his memoirs, he recorded that his invasion served two purposes: to fight what he called a holy war against those he regarded as infidels and to seize the immense wealth of the subcontinent. His forces swept through the plains, plundering towns, destroying temples and marketplaces, and leaving trails of devastation in their wake. When his army finally reached Delhi, they inflicted a catastrophe. Tens of thousands were reportedly killed, countless others taken captive as slaves, and the once flourishing city reduced to ashes and ruin. After gathering vast amounts of treasure and enslaving large sections of the population, Timur withdrew from India as swiftly as he had arrived, leaving Delhi and its surrounding territories impoverished and politically weakened. In the turbulent decades that followed, a new power gradually rose to prominence. The Lodi dynasty, 1451 to 1526 CE, eventually took control of the throne, becoming the last ruling house of the Sultanate. However, its dominion shrank as regional kingdoms in Bengal, Gujarat, Marwa, Mewar, and Vijayanagara asserted their independence. The invasions, heavy taxation, and internal conflicts had fragmented the once expansive empire. Standing against the Sultanate. Even at the height of its power, the Delhi Sultanate could not fully dominate all regions of India. Many kingdoms successfully resisted its authority, preserving both their independence and cultural heritage. In the eastern subcontinent, the eastern Ganga rulers of Kalinga, covering much of the present-day Odisha and parts of Bengal and Andhra Pradesh, remained unconquered. Narasimhadeva I, also called Narasimhadeva I, who ruled in the mid-1200s, was renowned for his military skill and cultural achievements. He successfully repelled multiple attacks by the Sultanate and even defeated its governor in Bengal. To celebrate these victories and as an enduring symbol of devotion and artistry, he commissioned the Surya Sun Temple at Konark, which continues to inspire admiration today. In the south, Hoysalas, controlling most of the present-day Karnataka, also resisted northern incursions, while rulers like Alauddin Khilji were drawn southward by the region's wealth. The Hoysalas successfully defended their territory. Over time, however, repeated invasions and internal tensions weakened the kingdom, which became part of the Vijayanagara Empire in the mid-14th century. The rise of the new regional sultanates further complicated the sultanate's hold over India. The Bahmani Sultanate emerged in the Deccan in the mid-1300s, establishing authority over vast territories. Powerful sultanates also took shape in Gujarat, Bengal, and other regions, creating a dynamic network of alliances and rivalries that significantly shaped political life in medieval India. Even in northwestern India, some territories resisted the Sultanate's expansion. The kingdom of Mewar in Rajasthan under Rana Kumbha successfully defended its lands against both Delhi and other regional sultanates during the 15th century, demonstrating the resilience of local rulers. Overall, the Delhi Sultanate's control was never absolute. Over the centuries, it had to contend with independent kingdoms, internal revolts, and newly emerging powers, highlighting the vibrant and diverse political landscape of medieval India. Vijayanagar, the rise of a South Kingdom. As the authority of the Delhi rulers weakened in the 14th century, a strong new power arose in the south. Two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, who had once served as governors under Muhammad bin Tughlaq, broke away from Delhi and set up an independent kingdom. Over time, this realm expanded into the Vijayanagar Empire with its capital at Vijayanagar, the site of Hampi in present-day Karnataka, which became famous for its wealth, temples and bustling markets. To the north of Vijayanagar lay the Bahmani Sultanate, a powerful Muslim state in the Deccan. The Bahmani polity later splintered into 5 independent Deccan sultanates: Bijapur, Golconda, Berar, Ahmednagar and Bidar, each led by former governors or commanders who chose to rule on their own. The Vijayanagar rulers fought repeatedly with these neighbors as well as with the Gajapati kings of the eastern coast in present-day Odisha. Despite the frequent wars, Vijayanagar grew into one of the most powerful kingdoms of the time, known as a major center of agriculture, trade and temple patronage. Its rulers invested in irrigation, supported artisans and merchants, and commissioned magnificent religious and civic buildings. The empire reached its height in the early 16th century under Krishna Devaraya 1509 to 1529 CE. A capable general and administrator, he expanded Vijayanagar's territories across much of the Deccan and strengthened its defences. His reign was marked by prosperity and a flowering of literature, art and architecture. He patronized scholars in Telugu, Kannada and Sanskrit and himself wrote the celebrated Telugu poem Amuktamaleda, which includes a section called Rajniti, outlining his ideas of good governance. Under his reign, the empire saw a period of military power, economic prosperity, and cultural brilliance. Magnificent temples such as Vithala Temple in Vijayanagar and generous grants to places like Tirupati testified to his devotion and patronage. The city of Vijayanagar became a magnet for merchants, visitors and travelers from across the world. One such visitor, the Portuguese traveller Domingo Paes, who visited Vijayanagar in the early 16th century during Krishna Devaraya's reign, wrote at length about what he saw. He described the city as large as Rome and very pleasing to the eye, with broad streets, busy markets, countless shops, gardens, groves of trees, tanks and water channels. He marveled at the variety of goods available, from food grains and spices to jewels, textiles and horses, and noted that the markets were crowded with ox carts and traders from many regions. Paes also remarked on the prosperity of the people and the orderly administration that kept the vast empire functioning. After Krishna Devaraya's death, the empire gradually weakened. In 1565 CE, the combined armies of the Deccan Sultanates defeated Vijayanagar's forces, then led by his son-in-law Ramarai, at the Battle of Talikota. The victorious forces plundered and destroyed the great city over several months. Its palaces, markets, and many temples were reduced to ruins, and thousands of inhabitants were killed. Though some regions continued under former military governors called Nayaks, the empire never recovered its former power and finally declined in the mid-17th century. The rise of the Mughals. Early 16th century, the Delhi Sultanate had entered a period of decline. Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, a Turkic Mongol ruler, descended on his father's side from Timur and on his mother's side from Genghis Khan, seized this opportunity. Having lost control of his ancestral seat at Samarkand in present-day Uzbekistan, Babur turned his attention to India. Armed with superior military tactics and the relatively new use of gunpowder weaponry, field artillery and matchlock firearms, Babur confronted the Lodi dynasty. In 1526, his forces decisively defeated Sultan Ibrahim Lodi at the First Battle of Panipat. This victory brought an end to the Delhi Sultanate and inaugurated a new imperial power in the subcontinent, the Mughal Empire. It also signaled a turning point in Indian warfare where gunpowder weapons began to outweigh traditional cavalry charges, Babur and elephant corps. Babur's impressions of India. Babur's renowned memoir, the Baburnama, offers a remarkably vivid glimpse into his personality and the era he shaped. It reveals a ruler of refined sensibilities, one who delighted in gardens, elegant architecture, fruit-laden orchards, and the diverse birds he so often catalogued. Yet, it also lays bare his ruthlessness as a conqueror, notorious for plundering cities and erecting macabre towers of skulls from his vanquished foes. Despite his frequent longing for his Central Asian homeland, Babur recognized the immense prosperity and potential of India. He praised its fertile soils, rich reserves of gold and silver, skilled craftsmen, and even the refreshing monsoon air that he found both healthy and pleasing. These advantages ultimately convinced him to establish and expand his dominion in India rather than attempt to reclaim his ancestral territories in Central Asia. Humayun and the Afghan interlude. Babur's untimely death in 1530 led the empire to his son Humayun, who struggled to hold it together. Exploiting this weakness, the Afghan leader Sher Shah Suri overthrew the Mughals and established the Sur Empire across much of northern India. Sher Shah's reign, though brief, is remembered for far-sighted administrative reforms. He standardized land revenue assessments, introduced a stable silver currency, the rupiah, and improved infrastructure by restoring and extending the Grand Trunk Road, which for centuries remained the principal artery of trade and governance in the Indo-Gangetic Plain. Humayun eventually recovered the throne in 1555, but his restoration was short-lived. He died the following year, leaving his young son Akbar as his successor. The challenge of Hemu. In this unsettled period, Hemu, a resourceful military commander and later chief minister wazir under the Sur rulers, seized Delhi in 1556 and crowned himself with the regal title Hemchandra Vikramaditya. However, his ascendancy was brief. In the ensuing Second Battle of Panipat, the Mughal forces under the young Akbar and his regent Bairam Khan defeated Hemu. Struck by an arrow during the battle and taken captive, Hemu was executed. This victory restored Mughal authority in Delhi and prepared the ground for Akbar's long and consolidating reign. Akbar and the consolidation of Mughal rule. Ascending the throne at merely 13 years of age, after the untimely death of his father Humayun, Akbar embarked on a determined quest to extend Mughal authority across the subcontinent. His long reign would be marked by both episodes of stark brutality and an innovative pursuit of political accommodation, reflecting the twin impulses of imperial ambition and pragmatic statecraft. In his early military campaigns, Akbar followed the precedent of early conquerors. His siege of Rajput stronghold of Chittorgarh in 1565–68 was especially grim. The Rajput defenders, renowned for their valor, resisted the Mughal onslaught for over 5 months, inflicting heavy casualties. When the fortress finally fell, its fate was catastrophic. Thousands perished in battle, and hundreds of Rajput women, led by queens and noble women, chose Johar, ritual self-immolation, rather than facing enslavement or violation. Akbar, only 25 at the time, ordered the execution of nearly 30,000 civilians, while the survivors were taken captive. In his triumphant dispatch, he boasted of having erased the signs of infidelity by the sword and of demolishing temples across the land, a reminder that his policies of accommodation evolved only later. As the empire expanded, Akbar came to believe that endless warfare alone could not ensure stability. He began to rely increasingly on diplomacy, forging marital alliances with Rajput princes, appointing regional leaders to high offices in his court, and eventually abolishing the jizya tax imposed on non-Muslims. Guided by the principle of Sulh-e-Kul, literally peace with all, he promoted an atmosphere of tolerance, holding interfaith dialogues at his court and patronizing scholars of different traditions. This shift won him the cooperation of many erstwhile rivals, including several Rajput chiefs, and brought relative stability to his vast realm. Akbar's reign lasted almost 5 decades, 1556 to 1605. The middle years of his rule were largely peaceful and allowed for administrative consolidation, while his last 15 years witnessed renewed campaigns in Kashmir, Sindh, the Deccan, and Afghanistan. Over time, his outlook towards faith also evolved. As his court historian Abul Faisal recorded, the emperor confessed, "Formerly I persecuted men into conformity with my faith and deemed it Islam. As I grew in knowledge, I was overcome with shame. Not being a Muslim myself, he was unfit to compel others to become such." Despite being unable to read or write, Akbar showed a remarkable intellectual curiosity. At his new capital, Fatehpur Sikri, he founded a renowned house of translation, commissioning Persian versions of major Sanskrit works including the Mahabharata, Razamnama, the Ramayana, with its exquisite miniature paintings, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Panchatantra. His court became a vibrant hub of cultural exchange where Persian, Indian, and even European scholars and Jesuit priests participated in discussions on philosophy and religion. The Mughal cultural zenith. Akbar's successors built upon this cultural legacy. His son Jahangir continued the tradition of patronizing art, architecture, natural history, while also attempting to push Mughal frontiers into the Deccan. His grandson Shah Jahan faced political turmoil but is best remembered for ushering in the golden age of Mughal architecture, commissioning monumental works such as the Taj Mahal at Agra, Red Forts of Delhi and Agra, and the grand restoration of Humayun's tomb in Delhi. This era saw not only an unprecedented flowering of architecture, but also the refinement of miniature paintings, calligraphy, and Hindustani classical music, making the Mughal court a renowned center of art and aesthetics. Aurangzeb and the empire at its greatest extent. The Mughal succession after Shah Jahan's illness in 1657 was marked by intense rivalry and bloodshed, and reminiscent of the violent successions of the Sultanate era. Shah Jahan favored his eldest son Dara Shikoh, a scholar known for his interest in interfaith dialogue. However, his younger son Aurangzeb, a formidable military commander, emerged victorious after a bitter struggle. Dara was captured and executed. Aurangzeb, secured the throne by eliminating his remaining brothers and confined his father to the Agra fort. Here, Shah Jahan spent the last years of his life. Aurangzeb assumed the title Alamgir, literally conqueror of the world, in 1658 and ruled for nearly 49 years, the longest reign of any Mughal ruler by a few months than Akbar. Under his leadership, the empire reached its widest territorial expanse, stretching deep into the Deccan. Yet, this expansion came at a heavy price. The emperor spent the final 25 years of his life in almost continuous warfare in the south, struggling to subdue powerful local forces such as the Marathas. The enormous cost of maintaining vast armies, combined with the strain of prolonged conflict, exhausted the imperial treasury and weakened the central administration, factors that contributed significantly to the Mughal Empire's rapid decline after his death in 1707. Aurangzeb's reign differed sharply in tone and policy from that of Akbar. A devout follower of the Sunni tradition of Islam, he lived an austere life and sought to impose stricter religious norms on the empire. He reintroduced the jizya tax on non-Muslims, abolished by Akbar, and a pilgrimage tax on Hindus visiting sacred sites. Court music and dance were discouraged, and many practices he deemed un-Islamic were banned. While some historians argue that these measures were often politically motivated, intended to strengthen imperial authority, Aurangzeb's own farmans or edicts also reveal genuine religious zeal. In 1669, he ordered provincial governors to demolish the schools and temples of the infidels and suppress their religious practices. Temples in Banaras, Varanasi, Mathura, Somnath, as well as several Jain temples and Sikh Gurudwaras were destroyed. His intolerance extended even to Muslims of other sects such as Sufis and to the Zoroastrians or Parsis of India. In his final years, Aurangzeb's tone grew somber. In a letter to his sons, he confessed, "I came alone and am going away alone. I know not who I am and what I have been doing. I have not done well for the country and the people, and of the future there is no hope." He spent his last years in the Deccan, far from the empire's northern heartlands. Despite his conquests, he found little peace, rebellions continued to flare, and his vast armies were weary and overextended. He died in 1707 at the age of 88. His long and restless reign left behind a kingdom strained by war, religious division, and administrative fatigue. With his passing, the empire he had struggled so hard to preserve began to fragment, marking the beginning of the end of Mughal supremacy in India. Administering India. Administration under the Delhi Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate established a strong and centralized system of government. At its core stood the Sultan, who held supreme political and military authority. According to historical accounts, his duties included defending the frontiers of Islam, maintaining law and order, collecting taxes, and ensuring the well-being of his subjects through direct contact with them. To assist the Sultan, a council of ministers managed different departments of governance. One of the most significant administrative features was the Ikta system. Under this system, land or territory called an Ikta was granted to nobles known as Iktadars. They were responsible for collecting taxes from their regions, keeping a portion for administrative expenses, and sending the rest to the royal treasury. In return, they had to maintain troops for the Sultan whenever required. This system enabled the Sultanate to control distant territories efficiently, though it also left the peasantry vulnerable to heavy taxation. Several contemporary sources describe the severity with which taxes were at times extracted from farmers and traders. Administration under the Mughals. The Mughal Empire, particularly under Emperor Akbar, developed a more organized and efficient administration that combined strong central control with local participation. The government was divided into several departments, each headed by a senior official. The Diwan looked after finances and revenue, the Mir Bakshi supervised military affairs, the Khani Saman managed trade industries, agriculture and the royal household, the Sadar oversaw justice, religious matters and education. Each of the empire's 12 sabhas or provinces followed similar administrative structure, ensuring uniformity across the empire. Local self-governing bodies continued to function at the village level, maintaining the traditional administrative framework. A major innovation of Akbar's reign was the Mansabdari system described in Abul Fazl's Aini Akbari. Every officer or Mansabdar was assigned a specific mansab or rank which determined the number of soldiers, horses, elephants and camels he was required to maintain for the state. This system enabled the Mughal army to expand quickly when required without maintaining a massive permanent force. Mansabdars were often compensated with jagirs or land grants and hence were also called jagirdars. Although Akbar promoted religious tolerance, non-Muslims continued to occupy a smaller proportion of the higher administrative positions. Even Muslims, officials of foreign descent were often preferred over those of Indian origin. Akbar's trusted finance minister Raja Tordar Mal further strengthened the empire through his revenue reforms. He introduced systematic land surveys and assessed taxes according to crop type, yield and market prices. His methodical approach improved revenue collection and stabilized the empire's finances. The administrative system of the Delhi Sultanate and Mughals together laid the foundation of later models of governance. Between the 13th and the 17th centuries, India witnessed the rise and fall of many dynasties, from the Delhi Sultans to the mighty Mughals. Yet, despite constant political shifts, life for most people revolved around the same anchors: agriculture, trade, craftsmanship, and community ties. India's economy continued to thrive because it was built on strong agrarian foundations and supported by self-sufficient local systems such as guilds or shrenis and occupational communities or jatis. These networks enabled production, trade, and lending to flourish even amid changes in rulership. Credit systems and cooperative trade network ensured that markets remained active, making the Indian subcontinent one of the wealthiest regions in the world at the time. Building the economy, roads, cities, and coins. The rulers of the Delhi Sultanate initiated significant infrastructural projects, constructing roads, bridges, irrigational canals, and fortified towns, particularly in North India. These developments were later expanded and refined under the Mughals. New cities emerged as administrative and trading centers connected by improved transport routes that encouraged the movement of goods and people. Coins made of gold, silver, and copper began to circulate widely, creating a standardized system of exchange. The Mughals introduced the rupiah or silver coin and the dam or copper coin, which made trade easier within and beyond the empire. Stable currency together with safe roads helped merchants travel long distances, linking local markets with international trade networks. Agriculture, the backbone of the economy. Agriculture remained the primary occupation of the people and the main source of state revenue. The land yielded a wide variety of crops: rice, wheat, barley, sugarcane and pulses, as well as valuable non-food crops such as cotton, indigo, silk and jute, which supported flourishing craft industries. To boost productivity, rulers constructed and maintained irrigation systems including canals, tanks and wells. The Persian wheel, which lifted water from wells to fields, became a familiar sight across many regions. The availability of water enabled farmers to grow 2 or even 3 crops annually. However, high land revenue demands and occasional droughts caused considerable hardship for peasants. When rulers were harsh or indifferent, heavy taxation could drive families into debt or force them to give up their land. Crafts, industry, and trade. Beyond agriculture, India was the hub of skilled craftsmanship. Artisans produced a dazzling range of goods: fine textiles, metal tools, jewelry, weaponry, carved stonework, and decorative objects. The textile industry in particular gained worldwide fame for its muslin, silk, and cotton fabrics. Shipbuilding expanded rapidly to support coastal and overseas trade. Indian ports such as Calicut or Kozhikode, Surat, Mangalore, Masulipatanam, and Hooghly thrived as centers of commerce. Merchants traded Indian textiles, spices, and indigo for horses, metals, silk, and luxury goods imported from Arabia, Persia, Central Asia, and Europe. India's exports far exceeded its imports, ensuring a steady inflow of wealth into the subcontinent. Merchant groups like the Marwadis and the Chetiyars became experts at operating across regions, maintaining trade networks even during wars or periods of political transition. The Hanli system, India's early banking network. Long before modern banks existed, Indian traders relied on an ingenious financial instrument called the hundi. A hundi was a written order directing one person to pay another person a certain sum of money. It allowed merchants to transfer wealth safely across long distances without carrying cash, protecting them from robbery or confiscation. This trust-based network worked across kingdoms and even beyond Indian borders. In a sense, it was an early form of banking based on credit, trust, and community reputation. Temples as economic and cultural centers. Temples were not only centers of worship but also hubs of social and economic life. Kings and wealthy patrons donated land, gold, and resources to temples as acts of faith and prestige. Temple authorities managed these assets judiciously, constructing irrigation tanks, maintaining roads, supporting craftsmen, and financing local trade. Markets often developed around temples, complexes attracting pilgrims, traders, and artisans. In this way, temples fostered self-sustaining local economies that linked spirituality with commerce. Inequalities and hardships. While India's economy flourished overall, wealth was unevenly distributed. The upper classes, rulers, nobles, landlords, and rich merchants lived in comfort while most peasants and laborers led difficult lives. After paying taxes and dues, farmers retained little of their produce. Many were forced to become landless laborers or bonded workers, especially during periods of famine. Craftspeople and manual workers faced similar hardships when wars disrupted trade or rulers imposed new levies. Yet, despite these challenges, Indian society demonstrated remarkable resilience, adapting to change while preserving its traditions and skills. Communities and coexistence. Amid changing rulers and religions, people of different faiths, Hindus, Muslims, Jains, Sikhs, and others continued to live and work alongside one another. Economic interdependence often outweighed religious divisions. Shared local customs, language, and trade created bonds that helped communities coexist peacefully for centuries. Even when conflicts arose, such as over desecrated sacred sites, cooperation in daily life prevailed in most areas. Festivals, fairs, and village gatherings reflected the spirit of shared living and cultural blending. Cultural resilience and shared heritage. Across centuries of political change, India's people preserved and renewed their artistic, literary, and spiritual traditions. Music, painting, temple art, and folk performances continued to flourish under both royal and community patronage. Continuous interaction between regions and faiths gave rise to a shared cultural heritage that blended Persian, Indian, and regional influences, a legacy that continues to shape India today. While the Mughal Empire achieved great heights in wealth, art, and administration, its vast size also made it difficult to control. Over time, increasing taxation, local grievances, and regional ambitions began to strain imperial authority. Some emperors attempted to tighten their control. Many groups from peasants and tribes to powerful regional rulers started asserting their independence. These scattered resistances signaled the start of the Mughal Empire's gradual decline and reshaped India's political landscape. Resistance to the Mughals. As the Mughal Empire expanded across India, many local rulers, communities, and groups rose in opposition. Their resistance was often driven by a desire to preserve independence, traditions, and ways of life. These struggles, occurring across various regions, gradually weakened Mughal authority and reshaped India's political landscape. Peasants and tribal rebellions. Not all revolts were led by kings or nobles. Ordinary people also stood up against harsh rule and exploitation. Among them were the Jat peasants of present-day western Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, and eastern Rajasthan. In the 17th century, they rebelled against the oppressive Mughal officers who demanded excessive taxes. When one such officer was killed, the Mughal army retaliated, but the Jats fought back bravely with nearly 20,000 men. Although their leader was eventually killed and the uprising suppressed, their defiance symbolized the courage of common people who refused to tolerate injustice. Across the subcontinent, tribal communities such as the Bhils, Gonds, Santals, and Kots resisted Mughal control. These groups, living primarily in hilly or forested regions, often fought back against attempts to seize their lands or impose taxes. While some tribes were subdued or absorbed into the Mughal army, many, particularly those in remote areas, managed to retain a degree of freedom. Rani Durgavati, the brave queen of the Gonds. In central India, the Gada kingdom, ruled by the Gond queen Rani Durgavati, became a shining symbol of courage and leadership. She inherited a prosperous kingdom and ruled wisely, maintaining an army of 20,000 soldiers and 1,000 elephants. Her reign brought peace and prosperity to her people. However, in 1564, a Mughal general sent by Akbar invaded her kingdom. Outnumbered and outmatched in weaponry, Rani Durgavati chose to fight rather than surrender. She personally led troops into battle, displaying extraordinary bravery. While she was gravely wounded, she took her own life to avoid capture. Her sacrifice became a lasting symbol of pride and resistance in central India. Rajput pride and resistance. In northwestern India, the Rajputs were among the most determined defenders of their independence. Drawing inspiration from their heroic ancestors, they often resisted the might of both the Delhi Sultans and the Mughals. The regions of Mewar and Marwar became strongholds of Rajput power. The legendary Maharana Pratap of Mewar refused to accept Mughal control. When Emperor Akbar's forces confronted him in the Battle of Haldi Ghati, 1576, Maharana Pratap's smaller army fought fiercely in the narrow mountain passes of the Aravalis. Though the Mughals had the upper hand, Maharana Pratap escaped and continued guerrilla warfare from the forests and hills, aided by local Bhil tribes who guided and fought beside him. His life in exile and his undying spirit became immortalized in Rajput songs and ballads. Later, during Aurangzeb's reign, some Rajput nobles such as Durga Das Rathore of Marwar also revolted to protect their independence. As a result, Mughal control remained limited in many parts of Rajasthan. The Ahoms of Assam. Far away in the northeast, the Ahoms ruled the Brahmaputra Valley in Assam. They had migrated centuries earlier from present-day Myanmar and built a strong independent kingdom. What made the Ahoms unique was their peg system. Under it, every able-bodied man served the state through labor or military service in return for land. This system helped the rulers maintain public works and a large army without relying on permanent soldiers. The Ahoms were skilled at adapting to their surroundings. They used the region's dense forests, hills, and rivers to defend themselves. When Mughal forces invaded under Aurangzeb, they briefly captured the Ahom capital Gargaon, but the Ahoms soon struck back. In the Battle of Saraighat, 1671, led by the brilliant commander Lachit Borphukan, a small Ahom fleet defeated the mighty Mughal navy on the Brahmaputra river. Their victory preserved Assam's independence for generations. The rise of the Sikhs. In 15th century Punjab, Guru Nanak preached the message of equality, compassion and devotion to one God, Ek Onkar. His followers, known as Sikhs, built a spiritual community that later grew into a powerful socio-political force. Over time, some Mughal rulers viewed Sikh teachings with suspicion. When Emperor Jahangir discovered that Guru Arjan, the fifth Guru, had supported his rebellious son, he ordered the Guru's execution. This martyrdom marked a turning point. Guru Arjan's son, Guru Har Gobind, sixth Guru, introduced martial training and formed a Sikh army to defend the community. Later, Guru Tegh Bahadur, the ninth Guru, courageously stood up for religious freedom. When Emperor Aurangzeb tried to force conversions, the Guru chose martyrdom rather than abandon his principles. He was executed in Chandni Chowk, Delhi, the site now marked by the Gurdwara Sheesh Kand Sahib, a powerful symbol of sacrifice. His son Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru of the Sikhs, transformed the Sikh community by founding the Khalsa in 1699, a brotherhood of saint soldiers dedicated to justice, equality and the protection of faith. The Khalsa continued to resist Mughal oppression and laid the foundations for Sikh unity and strength. In later years, various Sikh confederacies emerged and under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, they were united into a powerful empire in the early 19th century, one that upheld religious tolerance and strong administration. Ranjit Singh, often called the Sher-e-Punjab or Lion of Punjab, established Lahore as his capital and built a strong disciplined army that included both Sikhs and non-Sikhs. He encouraged art, trade and architecture and maintained peace and stability across his dominion. His rule marked the last major independent Indian power before the rise of British control in the subcontinent. Voices of courage and freedom. From the Jat peasants and tribal warriors to Rani Durgavati, Maharana Pratap, Lachit Borphukan and the Sikh Gurus, every act of resistance reflected India's undying spirit of independence. Though many battles were lost, the courage of these heroes inspired future generations to challenge injustice and fight for self-rule. These struggles scattered across regions and centuries, gradually eroding the Mughal Empire's strength and laid the foundations for a more diverse and dynamic India, one where the ideals of courage, freedom and dignity continue to shine.